Wednesday, 12 February. Welcome to the PDB Afternoon Bulletin. I'm Mike Baker, your eyes and ears on the world stage. All right, let's get briefed. We'll start things off with a look at the Trump administration's border crackdown. Now, on the surface, the numbers show real progress. But when you dig into it, get below the surface, literally, well, the cartels are still finding ways in. Later in the show, American teacher Marc Fogel is back on U.S. soil after spending 3.5 years in a Russian prison on drug charges related to a small amount of medical marijuana. We'll bring you the details of his release. But first, the afternoon spotlight. The Trump administration's border crackdown appears to be making a serious impact if the numbers are anything to go by. According to a report from Fox, the daily average number of known gotaways, that's the illegal migrants who successfully entered the U.S. without apprehension, has dropped to just 132 per day since the beginning of February. Now, that's a staggering 93% decline from the peak numbers seen under the Biden administration, according to a senior Department of Homeland Security source. But while the numbers above ground look promising, below the surface, well, there's another battle playing out, one that's been going on for decades. Mexican drug cartels have been using tunnels to smuggle drugs, people, and weapons into the U.S. for years. And even with enhanced border security, these underground routes, well, they remain a major challenge. U.S. officials believe that hundreds of these tunnels have been built beneath the border over the years. Since the early 1990s, more than 230 have been officially discovered, most of them in California and Arizona. The areas around San Diego and Nogales, in particular, have seen the highest concentration of tunnels due to their favorable soil conditions. And while authorities continue to find them, many more remain undetected. Some of these tunnels are remarkably sophisticated. Now, we've heard a lot about the tunnel systems running beneath Gaza, but it's important to note that the drug cartels actually have a lot more resources than Hamas. Take the Otay Mesa mega tunnel. Now, that was discovered in 2022. The cartel-built passage stretched more than 1,700 feet from Tijuana to a warehouse in Otay Mesa, California, reaching depths at times of 61 feet. Unlike the crude smuggling tunnels of the past, this one had reinforced walls, a ventilation system, electrical wiring, and even a railroad track to efficiently move the drugs. When authorities finally found it, they seized over a ton of cocaine. That's a lot of coke. The Otay Mesa tunnel led directly to a warehouse in an industrial park, what's known essentially as a cover-up. Now, cover-ups are a key part of the cartel's smuggling operations. They're seemingly normal buildings, could be storefronts or warehouses or abandoned homes, used to disguise tunnel entrances. Cartels go to great lengths, of course, to make sure these sites blend in, using trap doors or fake floors, even hydraulic lifts to conceal the tunnel openings. They're designed, of course, to evade detection for as long as possible, allowing smugglers to move the drugs without drawing attention. And it's not just the gear that's moving through these tunnels. Human smuggling operations are taking full advantage of this underground network. Reports from last year indicated that Mexican cartels were offering VIP smuggling packages for as much as $15,000 to help illegal immigrants enter the U.S. via these tunnels. One senior Mexican official told USA Today that the La Línea cartel has allegedly been moving around 1,000 VIP migrants every month from Ciudad Juarez into El Paso through its tunnel system. These VIP clients reportedly include individuals who want to avoid detection at all costs, either because they have criminal records or because they fear deportation upon capture. For law enforcement, well, these tunnels are a nightmare. They're difficult to detect, they're costly to investigate, and constantly evolving in sophistication. Unlike surface-level smuggling routes, these tunnels bypass traditional border security measures entirely. U.S. authorities have invested in ground-penetrating radar, seismic sensors, and intelligence operations to locate them, well, but the cartels are always adapting, always working to stay one step ahead. After all, they are highly motivated to protect their revenue streams. All right, coming up next, American Marc Fogel is back on U.S. soil after 3.5 years in a Russian prison. I'll have those details after the break. Running a business isn't easy. I know that firsthand. As a business owner, I've seen how managing finances can turn into a time-consuming headache, with endless receipts, approvals, and expense tracking slowing everything down. Well, that's where RAMP comes in. Now, RAMP streamlines finance operations by automating the entire process. There's no more chasing receipts or manually logging expenses. RAMP takes care of it all, instantly matching receipts, categorizing purchases, and approving transactions while integrating seamlessly with your ERP for real-time visibility. For finance teams buried in busy work, well, RAMP flips the equation. Most companies spend 80% of their time on low-value tasks and only 20% on strategy. Think about that. RAMP changes that situation, freeing up your team to focus on forecasting, growth, and high-impact decisions. Making the switch is effortless. Look, over 25,000 businesses, including Shopify and the Boys and Girls Club of America, well, they trust RAMP, earning it the #1 ranking in spend management by G2. And now, for a limited time, listeners of this show can get $250 when you join RAMP. Just go to ramp.com/PDB. It's simple. That's ramp.com/PDB. Cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back to the Afternoon Bulletin. In a significant victory for the White House, the Trump administration secured the release of Marc Fogel, an American teacher detained in Russia for 3.5 years in a prisoner exchange that could signal a shift in Washington-Moscow relations. Trump personally welcomed Fogle at the White House late Tuesday night, where the teacher arrived draped in an American flag. Visibly emotional, Fogle expressed his gratitude, stating, quote, "Thank you all, and I love our country, and I'm so happy to be back here." Trump, standing beside him, called it, quote, "an honor to have played a role in securing his freedom." Fogle, who taught history for nearly a decade at the Anglo-American school in Moscow, where the children of U.S. diplomats were among his students, was arrested at a Moscow airport back in 2021 on drug charges. Russian authorities charged him with, quote, large-scale drug smuggling. Oh, really? After discovering 17 grams of cannabis in his possession, medication Fogle maintained was prescribed for severe spinal pain. In June 2022, a Russian court handed him a 14-year sentence in hard labor camp. The same court that had sentenced professional basketball player Brittany Griner before her high-profile release later that year. The deal to bring Fogle home was spearheaded by Trump, Special Envoy for the Middle East Steve Witkoff, and a team of senior presidential advisors. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz described the exchange as, quote, a show of good faith from the Russians and a sign that we're moving in the right direction to end the brutal and terrible war in Ukraine, end quote. While Trump did not disclose whether he personally negotiated with Russian President Putin, a senior U.S. official confirmed on Wednesday that the United States is set to return Russian cybercriminal Alexander Vinnik as part of the trade. Now, Vinnik, a convicted cybercriminal, pleaded guilty last year to conspiracy charges related to the cryptocurrency exchange BTCE, which U.S. authorities alleged laundered over $9 billion in illicit transactions. The Justice Department maintains that under Vinnik's leadership, the platform became a financial haven for cybercriminals looking to funnel dirty money across the globe. Kremlin mouthpiece Dmitry Peskov declined to identify Vinnik, but confirmed that a, quote, citizen of the Russian Federation had been released in exchange for Fogle and that he will return in the coming days. Trump framed the deal as, quote, very fair and very reasonable, hinting the exchange could contribute to broader diplomacy. Trump stated, quote, there's goodwill in terms of the war, referring to Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine. Addressing Fogle directly, Trump added, quote, you could be a big part of it, actually, because it could be a big, important part of getting the war over with Ukraine, end quote. The president confirmed that another American is expected to be freed soon, though he withheld details. Among those still detained in Russia are American citizen Stephen Hubbard and Russian-American dual citizen Ksenia Karolina. The State Department designated both as wrongfully detained. The execution of the operation was almost as notable as the swap itself. Special Envoy for the Middle East Steve Witkoff, who had not previously been involved in U.S.-Russia negotiations, traveled to Russia to escort Fogle home. It was the first known high-level American visit to Russian soil since the war in Ukraine began with Putin's invasion in February of 2022. Witkoff reportedly leveraged his Middle East connections, particularly through Qatari intermediaries, to facilitate the exchange. Secretary of State Marco Rubio noted that while Fogle's release was not directly linked to broader efforts to end the war in Ukraine, it may hint at Moscow's shifting calculus. America's top diplomat stated, quote, "It's a long way to go between here and there. It's not going to be easy." Rubio went on to add, quote, "I do think it's a good sign that the Russians were willing to do something in this regard, and hopefully we can build on that in the days to come," end quote. And that, my friends, is the PDB Afternoon Bulletin for Wednesday, 12 February. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me at pdb@thefirsttv.com. And, of course, to listen to the show ad-free, should you be so inclined, well, it's simple. Become a premium member of the President's Daily Brief by visiting pdbpremium.com. I'm Mike Baker, and I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, stay informed, stay safe, stay cool.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment, a really positive, nice, and kind comment. That would be appreciated. And if you're not already subscribed to our channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our daily updates.